So you've got a good sample that you want to use in a beat, but the problem is, it's hi-fi, and you want to make a lo-fi beat. How can we get around this? Well, today I'm going to show you how we can. So basically, the big trick to this is downsampling. What you're going to want to do is go over to the effects list that you have and find your bit crushing effect. There you have it. If you listen back to the sample now, we'll turn the effect off and on. All you're hearing is just a little bit more noise. So what we want to do is make this sound like it came from an old-timey recording console. Back then the bit depth was 8 and the sampling rate was 11.025. So the current sampling rate, as you can see down here, is 44.1. So we want to downsample that by 4 times. We'll play it back. So you hear a lot more noise, and there's also a bit of a ring. What we're going to do now is zero that out. See how the waveform changed? You'll notice that the ring became much more evident. In fact, we can check it out in a spectrum meter. Ooh, there it is, right there. So you might think that having that would be really bad for the sound, but actually it's what we want, because the rest of the sample has been downsampled 4 times. So I'm not exactly sure why the ring is produced, but I do know how to get rid of it. What we're going to do is basically treat this as if it's not 11.025, like not true 11.025. We're going to go to the export section. We'll choose between loop. We'll choose import to track, and we need to change the format to, I'll just say I'm on a Mac, so AIFF. If you're on Windows, you could choose WAVE. Either one of them will work just fine. And you'll see here we have resolution at 16-bit. I'm going to leave that the way it is, but the sample rate I'm going to change, and I'm going to change it to 11.025. We'll mix it down. You'll see we have it to a track now. We're going to solo this track. So basically, what just happened is we actually converted it to 11.025. And that is the big trick in making your hi-fi samples sound lo-fi. But guess what else it does? Listening back, you can no longer hear the ring. And if we check the spectrum meter, look, everything above 5K has been cut off, like 5.3K, but everything above that area has been cut off very sharply because of the 11.025 sample rate. I'm not exactly sure why this is, but for some reason, when you're at 11.025, it just won't take any more. Anything above that area is just going to be cut off. It doesn't take it for some reason. Now, we couldn't hear this before because of the ring and the noise generated by the bit crusher. But now that we've actually converted it to true 11.025, it actually sounds old. Well, sort of. There's one more step. The plugin I'm going to find now is by iZotope. It's called iZotope Vinyl. I'm just going to use the VST version. This plugin simulates an old record player, pretty much. And it's completely free. You can go and download it. As a matter of fact, I'll leave a link in the description. So here are the controls. You'll figure them out really quickly. Mechanical noise. This is pretty much, if you're looking at an old sample, like, if you're looking at a sample from like the 1950s, you would see information above 5K on the spectrum meter, but it's just the noise. It's just the white noise provided by the record player, or the hissy mics from back then. So I'm going to leave that where we can just notice it. The wear effect here decreases the high end. See, it's worn down. It's lost a lot of its high definition, its tone. Also, it gives it that distortion, that warm saturation distortion. I'm going to ignore that for now, though. We'll keep that down. Electrical noise, it's that electrical hum that you hear in like speakers. Once again, we will keep that very low. Dust and scratch is... that's dust. That's alright. It's a little bit quieter than I thought it would be. Scratch is... you know what this is. I don't like scratch. I'll take that all the way out. Warp depth is interesting. This is basically like an LFO for pitch. Check out what happens. You know those old records, they couldn't hold pitch very well. This is also the step, speaking of pitch, where you can transpose if you want. You've got to do it after you apply the bit crushing. I'm going to transpose it down 1. I'm also going to tune it down some as well. Just detune it a little. Because this guitar was in pretty good tuning. We don't want that. We want it to sound out of tune, right? And already we've got ourselves sounding like a lo-fi producer right there. Maybe a little bit more wear. Also, you've got a nifty spin down effect here. It's a little slow for my tastes, but whatever. Okay, now the other effect I want to point you to here is this year. So you'll instantly be able to hear what happens when I change the year. Basically, the sound gets thinner and thinner, less bass. I suggest leaving it at 1960. That's usually where I start that, or 1970. I'm gonna leave it at 60 for now. Boost the output gain. You can also turn it to mono. I usually do that. You can also keep it on these. I honestly don't think that does anything. And the last thing, of course, you can change the warp. That second one sounds fine. We'll just leave it on that. So the wear and the year kind of counteract each other. Funny enough, I just realized they're one letter away, two letters away from each other. W, X, Y. That's kind of funny. Well, anyways, you can use them in conjunction with each other to make a very, very thin sound, almost like a telephone. Okay, and that sounds pretty good. It doesn't sound perfect, but it does sound more like an old record than the original. Just for comparison, let's listen back to them. And now for the original. Oh, without the bit crushing. Back to the finished. Okay, but suppose you're watching this and you're like, okay, I want to do that, but my DAW won't let me export in 11.025. For instance, I know that Propellerhead's Reason does not let you export in 11.025. You can't export in anything less than 44.1. This is the computer age. You've got to have it in high quality. Well, don't worry, there is a way around this, and it won't cost you any money. So the trick to this is using Audacity. This is a program that is completely free. I'll leave a link to that in the description as well. So I've just imported the exact same file into Audacity. Okay, so for Audacity, we're going to skip the bit crushing effect because we're not going to need it. What we're going to do is go over to the project rate, which is over in the lower left corner. You can see that it's on 44.1. What we're going to do is just change that to 11.025. Now you can't notice much of a difference here. You could even go to 8,000. Okay, you can hear a little bit of highs chopped off there. But we're going to leave it at 11.025. And we'll just select everything and export it. We'll just export it as AIFF. I've got it imported now into Studio One, and by the way, I just realized that this thing was on this whole time. So you heard that record noise in the background. My bad. Alright, but we'll mute that now. Alright, so we start to play this file, and you can notice that, once again, all the information above 5K has been chopped off. Now, unfortunately, you can't add a bit crusher now because look what happens. And listen to what happens. Ugh, it's unbearable. But we'll go ahead and put the vinyl effect on it. And we'll transpose it too, how about it? Might want to decrease the volume of this clip. Okay, but there you go. We have three things to compare. First off, we've got the original sample here. Then we've got the thing that we did with the bit crusher in Studio One. It's too much dust. And then we've got the thing we did in Audacity. So there's practically no difference between what we did in Studio One and what we did in Audacity. It's just the Audacity version sounds a little bit more clean, which is of course not what we want, but you know, it's almost exactly the same. So, I hope this little tutorial helped you out with your lo-fi producing. This can work for any hi-fi. You know what, let me turn that off. But this can work for just about any hi-fi sample that you use. You could produce yourself playing guitar with a bass and drums and just like a little bit of jazz combo there, and you could export that as 11.025 in Studio One, and that would work perfectly. Like, you could get the mix and everything just right with like effects and everything on those tracks. Export it as 11.025 or throw it in Audacity, export it as 11.025, and you're ready to put a beat over it. Once again, hope this helped. Please consider subscribing. I'm about to be dropping a lo-fi album myself, hopefully sometime in the next couple of weeks. Hope you guys learned something today, and go and try it for yourself. And as for me, well, I've got producing to do. So see you later, guys. Sayonara. You
magnetic choke.